All praises and glorification is given to Yahweh, the Almighty, the Most High, the one power and only power. Bahasham, which translates into the Hebrew as in the name, Yahawashai, referring to who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and to who they foolishly believe to be a Caucasian male, who is the firstborn, first begotten, the first created of the Most High, the anointed Savior, written about, spoken about, and prophesied of in the scriptures. In addition, I'm going to give double honors to the elders of Great Millstone for being the men who the Most High set up to teach his sound biblical doctrine, the most accurate out of all of the bootleg Hebrew Israelite camps and all so-called Bible authorities on the earth. In addition, I'm going to give honors to you brothers, all you brothers, who labor in sincerity, diligence, and faith to the best of your abilities in serving the truth, which is the sound doctrine and the holy gospel of the Most High, that the kingdom may come and that it will be done, Lord willing. Us servants, us workers that push the truth are the very elect that's spoken of in the good news, the gospel. So I want to go ahead and get into this real quick run through of this little issue that's been going on for like the past week or so now. As we all know that Iuic, who's basically figureheaded by this guy who goes by the name Nathaniel or Nathaniel 7, who's a known Illuminati sellout among the brothers who have sound doctrine and who have eyes to see and ears to hear. This guy Nathaniel 7 is basically a modern day Judas. Him and all the other bootleg Hebrews like camps such as ISUPK, GOCC, and etc. So as of lately, this sellout, since he sold out for fame and sold out for cash to Esau, to the Caucasian, right? To the deceiver, right? He has that 501c3 charter code, which makes him tax exempt. And I guess he gets like a bonus in government money every year for basically having that 501c3 charter, which basically makes it mandatory that he teaches whatever set doctrine that government and I guess religious government affiliated officials, such as the Roman Catholic Church and Jesuits or whatever, because they all work hand in hand with the government. You got members of the government, employees who have their adherents, they have their religions, whatever they believe in. Basically, he's funded by them to teach through that 501c3 charter code doctrines that are not the correct and sound doctrines that's spoken of in the Bible, that's stated of in the Bible. And again, he does it on purpose for cash and of course for fame and glory, like he's attained within the past couple of years with building this farce of a group known as Iuic, which the upper tier guys, like the so-called bishops in Iuic, they all know that Nathaniel sold out. He has them juiced in. They're getting chipped off some change as well too, just like he got his little change from the so-called white man. But the lower tier, the average grunts and cronies in Iuic, they have no clue because they're either simple or they're just in the truth for ulterior motives, just to be a part of something and to have an image, to build self-esteem by claiming to be Israel and wearing some damn purple uniforms that match in unison. Those guys are the guys that are beguiled, that follow this guy and believe whatever the hell bullshit that he says. And then he says in such eloquence, he deceives those guys. All right. So as of recently, this controversy is what was brought up about the new moon, according to Nathaniel 7, or Nate Satan's statement, is that the new moon is the full moon. And the way he broke it down, it would seem and likely be so that a full moon would be the new moon. It would sound likely. But to the foolish, only the foolish will go ahead and will be the ones that will be deceived by such eloquence as he put into that lesson and the precepts that he put into it to make it seem as such. But nowhere through his whole breakdown lesson did he bring out a scripture that told you flat out that the full moon was the new moon. All right, because you know why? That's nowhere in the scriptures. That's nowhere in the Apocrypha, which is a part of the Holy Biblical Scriptures. We're going to prove this right now, that the new moon is, in fact, as according to what years ago, the men at Great Millstone, the elders, all right, they basically brought about the doctrine that the month is indicated and declared by the new moon, and the new moon is when you don't see the moon outside at all because of its 0% visibility. Because you know that the cycle of a new moon is basically you have 4 weeks in a month. And through this 4 weeks, you have the beginning week of the first week where the moon is invisible. You could probably see a dark outline of the moon, but it's not shining, you know. It's like a very shaded in silhouette. Then you have the slither moon, you know, like that 10 to 15%. Then you have the quarter, then you have the half, then you have 75%, then you have close to 100%, then you have 100%, the full moon. And that's usually within the second week, in the middle of the 4 week span. Okay? Once it reaches the full moon, the cycle of the full moon, that's within the second week. The end of the second week, the beginning of the third week. So then we progress again back to there being like 95% of a moon, to there's 75% of a moon, to there's half a moon, to there's a quarter of a moon, to there's again that 10 to 15% slither of the moon, and then there's no moon at all. The moon has zero visibility, though you may see that silhouette like I aforementioned. And this all goes by the span of a 4 week period cycle. No moon, quarter moon, half moon, 3/4 of a moon, full moon, and then going back down, 3/4, half, quarter, no moon. All right. Now, in the scriptures tell you, it gives indication through significance that at the evening sunset, which is what the word evening simply means, there's an importance when you have sunset. All right. So let's go and touch in a few scriptures real quick, and we're going to go ahead and elaborate upon that point. This is the book of Leviticus, the 15th chapter. And in Leviticus, the 15th chapter, it talks about the laws appertaining to when you're defiled. How do you go about to cleanse yourself? And then when you're done cleansing yourself, you're not defiled. You're considered defiled no more. You're undefiled at a certain specific time, which a specific time goes hand in hand with this point I'm about to bring about. So this is Leviticus, the 15th chapter, the 16th verse. It says, "And if any man's seed of copulation, referring to a man's semen, go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water. When you take a full bath or you take a shower, you clean your whole entire body, and be unclean unto even. And you're unclean after you wash your flesh off." You know, you wash your flesh off, and when it gets to even, that key word even, that's the key indication time we're going to make this, establish this point about. At even is when you're not unclean anymore. You're deemed to be clean. Verse 17, "And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and be unclean unto the even." Even clothes and every other material, including your skin. All right. So verse 18, "The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean unto even." So when a man and woman have sex with each other, they're both unclean. And they got to clean themselves, and they're unclean at even. All right? So this is verse 19 in Leviticus, the 15th chapter. "And if a woman have an issue," which is referring to her period, "and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean unto the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until even. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until even. And if it be on her bed, or on anything wherein she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until even. So what's up with this word even, and what's the significance of it? What does the word even mean? The word even is the common word we use today in the modern day American English standard of definition. The word even is evening. Like when people say have a good evening, or how's it going? How's your evening going so far? All right. The word evening simply means what it means, to even out, to balance out. That's what even means, balance out. So when you have evening according to time, that's what? The time of the day is 24 hours. Half of 24 hours is 12 hours. And for an example, when the sun rises, let's say the sun rises around 6 o'clock. When the sun rises around 6 o'clock, guess what? 12 hours later, it sets around the same time, either the same time or near the same time at 6 o'clock. You know why? Because there's an even amount of hours that the sun is outside and that the moon is outside. All right. The sun is outside and the moon is outside. The sun has this even period of time of hours that it's out, and so does the moon. So that's what evening means. It basically simply means when the sun sets, the even hours in the day. The evening is the evening hour in the day where the sun sets and is no more within the visibility of being outside. All right. Catch that. The visibility of the sun being outside is no more at evening. This is the Etymology Online, which the word etymology, because we're on online etymology dictionary, the website, Etymology Online. The word etymology means true study of words, true meaning of words. Etym means true meaning, true studying. All right. So it says for evening, the etymology of evening is from the Old English afung, the coming of evening, sunset, time around sunset. Okay. It says verbal noun from Athenian, become evening, grow toward evening, from Athen evening, as a synonym of even, in a sense time from the sunset to bedtime. All right. And the point is that it is the time that's at sunset or around sunset. Okay. You got more right here. Evening, especially the time between sunset and darkness. All right. So we got our point, man. Let's go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, which contains all the holy days. The holy days, I believe in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it may not contain the holy day that was set up from the time of the Maccabees, if I'm not mistaken. But it contains majority, about like 9/10, so to speak, of the holy days that was given by the Most High for Hebrew Israelites to celebrate as the true holidays. None of these worldly, pagan, secretly, surreptitiously, covertly pagan so-called holidays such as Christmas, such as Easter, New Year's, Thanksgiving, aka thanks so-called giving, and Halloween, even your birthdays, even your so-called birthdays, man. All right, that's self-idolatry right there. So these are the true holy days that we're supposed to go ahead and commemorate, which basically gives praise and homage to the Most High and is worship to the Most High, because we're doing what we told him to do, what he told us to do, Salakia, which is what he commanded. Okay. So we're in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and we're going to go begin at the 4th verse down to the 5th verse. It says, these are the feast of the Lord, even the holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. Let me read that over. These are the feast of Yahweh the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh the Lord's Passover. So why does the Passover begin at even? What's the significance of this word right here? Even. At even. We see it. Even. Right here on the screen. Even. Even. At even does the Lord's Passover begin. All right. Within the second week, at the 7th day, which is the 14th day of the month, at even is the Lord's Passover. So the day of the Passover, because the whole entire day is the Passover, all right? When the sun sets, that's when the Passover begins. You know why? You know why the Passover begins at sunset, the day of the Passover? Because at evening is when a day ends, when it's over with, when it's completed, when it's finished, when it's done, when it's through. And also, it's the beginning, it's the birth, it's the continuation, it's the recycling, all right? It's the initiation, okay? It's the genesis of a new day. So evening, the evening out, one day ends, the other day begins. Perfect balance, all right? If you can't see through the spirit that way, then the spirit is not dealing with you. You either just not being patient and humble enough to take it in what's being taught. So you might have to go through it all over again or whatever. Or you just can't get it, man. You need to humble yourself. If you say that this is wrong, this whole entire lesson so far is wrong, by me proving a fact right here, as we're in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, the 5th verse, in the 14th day of the first month, at even is the Lord's Passover. The day of the Passover begins at the evening. Okay? I mean, that's plain and simple. That indicates right there, if the Passover, the day of the Passover begins at evening, that means the day begins, all days begin at evening. Plain and simple, we're just not one day to Passover, the day of the Passover begins at evening. That's not the case. All days throughout every year, all years, every single day and every single year, the day ends and it begins at evening, at sunset. This is how it's taught in this society, that the day begins at 12 o'clock at midnight when it's pure pitch black outside, which makes no goddamn sense at all. All right, it makes no God condemning sense at all for anyone to believe that a day begins 12 o'clock at midnight. That's a bunch of lies, folly, and BS that's been introduced by the great deceiver known as Esau, the Edomite. All right. But now we know through the scriptures and through the truth, even through the laws of cleansing, that when you're done cleaning yourself, when you're defiled, you're considered undefiled when the day ends and the next day begins. So that should be plain and simple. If brothers don't get this, just rewatch this lesson all over again. If you don't get it afterwards, man, then that's on you. You know, you probably ain't meant to understand this hell. You probably not meant to even be in this truth if you can't understand the simplicity of what was just broke down. So at that, I say all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, double honors to the elders, a great millstone. Also salutations and props to you brothers who all labor in sincerity, truth, and diligence, pursuant to the sound doctrine that is. All right. Or Lord willing that you get on the right track with the sound doctrine if you are sincere. I say shalom. Peace to the elect. And no peace unto the wicked.